welcome to Inside of New England's Therapeutic Talk. Please like, subscribe, and comment
Hello,
below.
everybody. Welcome to Inside of New England's Therapeutic Talk. I am Candace. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Sheila Ramone. She is an author and the founder of Wife After Prison. She works with family members who have loved ones who are incarcerated and loved ones who come home from being incarcerated. And she also works with people who are incarcerated. So she is a beautiful woman inside and out. And I'm really excited. She's going to share some of her story and journey with us today.
Hi, my name is Sheila Ramone. I am the founder of Wife After Prison. Wife After Prison is a nonprofit organization that raises awareness of the psychological impact of incarceration. After Prison was birthed from the pain of loving and marrying someone who was incarcerated for over a quarter of a century. Most amazing guy in the world. He kind, considerate, incredibly supportive husband. We got married in 2014. And as mentioned, he was in prison for over a quarter of a century. And in 2016, I began to notice some behavior changes with him and character changes. I wasn't familiar with the outburst of anger, easily irritated, frustrated about the least things, just totally changed. So this is when I dove in to find out what was going on with him. And after some research, found out that he was suffering from what's called post-incarceration syndrome. Post-incarceration syndrome is a set of mental disorders that occur in those who are current and formerly incarcerated, and most severe if a person spends a lot of time in solitary confinement. And so after finding that out, then that started the work in a Wife After Prison. And the insight, the personal insight, is because, watching my husband struggle, watching my husband go from someone who was so kind and so supportive and turn to someone who was mean and isolated and irresponsible. And I said this in my book, he no longer treated me like a soulmate. He began to treat me like a cellmate. And so there was numerous separations and near divorce. So I take it personal. This is the personal insight for me that started me in the world of reentry.
So what are some of the challenges that you think that people who are incarcerated face when they come back?
So it is like my husband for the longest, he was suffering in silence, and I did not realize that, smiling on the outside, but on the inside, he was really, really suffering, and he was struggling psychologically and emotionally. And as I began to dive into this work and was able to go into the prisons and develop a relationship with those who were currently incarcerated, then many of them suffer. Many of them suffer in silence, and they do so because their concept of what mental health is that you're crazy, and they don't want to be stigmatized. So many of them coming out, they suffer in silence and they struggle. And then they struggle to maintain healthy relationships. You have to look at it that if a person went to prison at the age of 14, at the age of 15, at the age of 16, and they come out decades later, they've never had a meaningful relationship. So they don't know what it means to be the man of the house. They don't know what it means to be responsible. So a lot of them struggle in relationships. And then being labeled an ex-offender. I asked my husband, I said, why is it that you think, because my husband is really boisterous in talking about the mental health struggles. And so I said, why is it that you think that some of the guys that are coming out are, silent about this? And he says, you have to look at this. He said, you have to look at the fact that they're coming out already. There's one X on their back. They're at an ex-offender. And then if you factor in your ex offender with mental health struggles, then nobody wants to wear that label.
No. Yeah, there's such a stigma with that.
Yeah.
So why you? Why
You
now?
Why me? Why now? So why me? I believe without a doubt that this is my calling, my assignment in life. My pain was for my purpose, and I often say that the pain of my past, has prepared me for the path that I'm now on. Um, and so to give voice to the voiceless, and the voiceless are those who are incarcerated, those who have been released, to include the family members. A lot of times, the spotlight is on the person who's incarcerated or the person who is released, and the voices and the experiences of the family members fall by the wayside as though they don't matter. And so it is with me. Had I not been willing to speak up and share my story, I don't think that we would be having this conversation today. So,
Right.
yeah. So, and
Yeah.
it's, it's a long overdue discussion. It's so long overdue. It's so many. I have a private prison wives group. And I mean, although it's called Wife After Prison, it's just not for wives. It's for the mother, the sister, the whomever is a female. And, they come on and they come into the group, and they said, he's home and I don't recognize him, but they are not willing to come out of the private group as of yet. So I have to be that voice for those who are not willing to come out right now.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder, do you feel like there's a lot of help with mental health right now as far as helping?
And talking with the guys, again, a lot of them struggle and suffer in silence because they don't really understand what mental health is and what mental health is not. Like one gentleman said, I'll tell you, Mrs. Bruno, I was in prison for 39 years and I never sought treatment because I thought that mental health meant crazy. But I'm finding out when you explain to them what mental health is, what it is not, and that we've all at some point in our life struggled with mental health, then they're more open to seek the treatment that they need. Just last week, I received a phone call from two gentlemen. One had did 32 years and one 31 years. And they said, one of them said, I heard you on a podcast and you said some things that really resonated with me. And he said, I wanted to know if you can help me to get some mental health treatment. So both of the guys were signed up and they're able to get some counseling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think I just want to add that, like, especially with so many people that are incarcerated being Black,
Mm-hmm.
and it's overpopulated.
Yes.
And the stigma that we have in our community already with getting mental health services and then being incarcerated on top of that, it's just,
Yeah. And I'm finding out that, some of the clients have been in prison, like I said, for decades, 30 years, 32 years, 39 years, one gentleman, 51 years. And I'm finding that the ones that have spent the most time, they have seen some things, they have done some things. They have been a part of some things that are now hunting them. And so the nightmares, the flashbacks, all of that is kind of coming to surface because one thing about it, in prison, you really don't have an opportunity to process prison because you're always in this survival mode. You're always having to look over your back and behind your shoulders, behind your back. And then even when you're sleeping, you're really not sleeping sound. But so once they come out, then there's that time to per se rest. But that's when they begin to really process the experience, process that trauma. And as they begin to process that undealt with trauma, then they find that that's where the mental struggles come in. That's where the thoughts come in. That's where the thoughts of suicide come in. I had one gentleman call me in back in October. I woke up to a text message that says, I want to go back. And I called him and he said, I want to go back, Mrs. Bruno. He did 21 years. He said, I got a job. He said, I have money in the bank now. I live at a nice transitional home. He said, but this is too much for me. So I said, well, just let us, connect you with somebody so that they can help you navigate your thinking. Because that's what it is. That's what the mental health aspect of it is. Let's just help to navigate your thoughts. Let's help you, to think more positively and then negatively.
Right.
Yeah.
So what could we do to help their transition to avoid re-entering?
One of the things that I say is for the reentry organizations, and this is where I'm really, really pushing it, is to make mental health education a priority and not an afterthought. Because you will find that in these reentry organizations, it's like they need a job, they need a place to stay. True enough, and those things are really, really important. However, if you don't take care of that mental wellness, there's a high probability that they will struggle on a job and they would struggle in day-to-day life, just the way of life. So as a community, I also think that there should be more compassion. More compassion. Where's the second chance? Where's the second chance that we fought for and lobbied for? And I'm finding out also that a lot of the second chance companies are not really second chance companies. They run the background check and then they say, we can't hire you. Support teams, build a support team around this community, this population. Many of them are really, really remorseful, have forgiven themselves and for what they did, so they deserve a second chance. And I think we as a community need to rally around that.
So what can communities do to help individuals?
My thing is this, and this is for everybody. Someone once asked me, who should hear this message? Who is this message for? And my answer is this: no one should be excluded from the conversation when it comes to the psychological impact of incarceration and serving the prison population. Compassion. We have to be of service, serve from a place of genuine, because they know, if you're giving them some fluff or whatever. So support from a genuine place, and also network on their behalf. Again, because of the amount of time that most of them have done, when they left, there were applications. You can walk into a company and fill out an application. That's no more. Everything is technology and it's online. And so that's why I say network on their behalf. If you know of a company that's hiring, hey, ask them, are they willing to give somebody a second chance? Network on their behalf, because this is all new to them. They left one world and entered into another world. So whatever support that we can provide for them, I just hope that we would do so. But this is the thing where the families are concerned. A lot of the families are uneducated as well. And in order for the family members to better support them, they have to be educated on the psychological impact of incarceration. They have to understand that prison has side effects. They have to be willing to be educated, knowing the signs and the symptoms so they can recognize when their loved ones are struggling, right? So my husband, the earlier part of 2020, I began to notice a change in him again. And I was like, oh no, God, not again. And this time it was a little different. However, because I was familiar with the signs and the symptoms, I knew that he was struggling. I knew that he was struggling. So we as family members, as I say, seek to understand and not to deny that prison has side effects. There was one lady, well, there's been several, but this one in particular, her loved one was coming out of prison. She lived in one state. He was paroled into another state. She uprooted her life, quit her job, sold her house, and moved to the state where he was being paroled to. And so he came home, and I was like, okay, so I'm just going to give them some time, to have some time together. And when she's ready, she'll reach out and let us know how things are going. Well, within 3 days, I got this message. Oh my God, Miss Sheila, post-incarceration syndrome is real. And she went on to tell me that, she had been in my group for 2 years. She said, I have to tell you that I was in denial. She said, I was in the group, but I was in denial. I was one of the ones that said, not my guy, not my guy, And she said, it is so real. And now, within 72 hours, she had to move back to the state where she had uprooted her life from. So I say that to say this, a lot of people be in denial. They're in denial, but prison has some serious side effects.
Mm-hmm. So what can family members do?
Educate themselves.
Yeah.
Educate themselves. And like I said, I have a private group for wives, girlfriends, mothers, sisters. It's Wife After Prison on Facebook, and then they can request to join that group. And inside that group is like a library of sorts. I have tons of information in there about post-incarceration syndrome. And another thing that the family has to do is make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because you cannot do anything for him unless your cup is overflowing, because it is a journey. It is definitely a journey, and it's a struggle. It took me to a place I had never, the struggle and the disruption that it caused to me in my marriage. It took me to a place that I had never been, where I had to go seek treatment. Right. So to the family members, you have to be, like I said, your cup needs to be 110. They get the 10%, the 100% is for you. It's like you get on the airplane. They tell you to put your mask on first, So self-care is very, very important. Setting healthy boundaries is very important as well, because our loved ones are going to come home with some reckless behavior. They're going to come home with some learned behavior. They're going to try to bring prison into the household. And so you have to set some boundaries. There's that aggressiveness. They were aggressive in prison. They talked crazy to whomever in prison. And then, they come home like that. Just because they walk out that back gate, it just doesn't fall off. So you have to be able to set some healthy boundaries and impose them. Consequences for the boundaries if they cross the boundaries.
Right. What do you think, as a mental health provider, I can think of a lot of things that we could be doing differently. But what can organizations and communities do to help?
What I'm looking for and pushing for is the mental health education piece of it, because it's been and I won't say easy, but it hasn't been really difficult once I began to talk to an individual about mental health and what it is and what it's not, and debunk all of the myths behind it, I'm finding that, more are saying yes to therapy
Mhm.
than there is that's saying no. So educating, I would like to see the community centers, have some type of training, uh, computer training for them when they come home, just the basic knowledge of computers, because even when they go to look for a job, like here in Texas, it's the Texas Workforce Commission. Yeah, they're going to help you find a job, but you're going to have to know some type of
Gross.
computer skills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that the community can do as well. Just help them out. They really, really need a lot of help.
Mhm. Do you think like we could be doing better like in within our prisons as well with some of
Oh,
that?
absolutely.
I have a whole lot of research on career counseling,
Yeah,
and I feel like, well, I've read some research that's been done on it as well,
yeah,
and that it should really be starting within the prisons.
yes,
I feel like
yes.
it's just a setup that we have set up within the prison. It's set
It-
up this way
to
for
fail,
people to basically
to
fail.
fail. Yeah,
Um, and
yeah. It is, and we can be doing a lot better. And it's my goal as my organization. And here shortly, I'll be talking to someone that can possibly help me with the goal of having independent counselors and psychiatrists to go in and meet with these individuals, and not the ones that are on staff there.
right.
Because what I'm finding here in Texas, I can speak for Texas and some of California, that if you go to Medic and you said, hey, I'm struggling, I need to talk to a psychiatrist or whatever, they're going to give you a pill. They're going to put
Mm,
you on medication, that have you walking around like a zombie
zombie. Yeah, I've
versus
heard of
giving,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's one of my goals, is to provide counseling on the inside, and then that follows them. They can continue on the outside, but started on the inside, because one thing about it, when they hit ground, if you don't catch them now, when they hit ground, the first thing that's on their minds are, I got to get a job. I got to get some money. I got to
Right.
get a job. And they won't even consider counseling. But then
No.
down the road, they're going to hit a bump. They're going to hit a bump. I had a mother to contact me and say that her son had gotten a really good job at UPS. And he called her from the job, and he was crying. And he said, Mom, I got to quit. He said, I had to quit. He said, I had to quit my job, because if I did not, then I would end up in prison, because the supervisor was really, really kind of jigging at him, because he knew he had been to prison. And so the
Mhm.
guy knew his limitations, and he quit. And so this is the thing. This is why I said that mental health needs to be a priority, because
Right.
if you teach and you train them how to handle certain situations like that, there's a
Right.
possibility he would have known how to deal with that and not have to quit his job.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah. And you know what? This conversation here is never ending. I was talking to my husband. I said, you know what? This conversation is like a lemon. I mean, like an onion. You pull one layer back and you think you're done. And you pull another, and it's always something. A couple of weeks ago, a gentleman reached out to me and he said, I'm just numb. He said, I don't feel anything. And he said, my girlfriend thinks that I don't want to be with her. He said, I just don't feel anything. And so I had to talk to her and explain to her, when a person has been in prison for that many years and they have to suppress their emotions, they
Mhm.
can't cry. Mother passed, they can't cry. Father passed, they don't cry. Sister passed, or whatever, they don't cry. They're holding all of this stuff in. Eventually, their system will become immune to emotions. And
Right.
so when they come out that back gate, those emotions doesn't suddenly reappear, you know? And so that's another thing that family members have to learn. You know, I mean, it's just so much. It's so much to this conversation, and you know, I'm hopeful, and I'm grateful for businesses and organizations such as yours that will open up your doors per se to have this kind of conversation, because it's been a really taboo, lie dormant kind of conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah. And I think it's really important for people, like some people have this stigma with people who are incarcerated, they're inmates, they've done something wrong, why should we care? But
Yeah,
I think everybody needs to care about this, because if one person is like, if they come out and they're going to commit another crime because we're not taking care of them,
yeah,
I mean, that could be your family next.
yeah.
So I think that I think it's important for all of us to care about this. And the amount of money that we're putting into incarcerating people in this country is absurd. You know,
Yeah,
it just makes absolutely zero sense to me.
yeah, let's put that towards
Right.
mental health counseling, you know?
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that we can have a healthier society. You
absolutely.
know, it's not,
Absolutely.
you know, it's really about us being a healthy society, not,
Absolutely.
you know, we need to care about everybody, and that's just not happening in this country. So that's why I have this channel.
Well, you know, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. You know, I have been really busy this week on interviews, and I'm like, because when I first started talking about this in 2018, I would go to reentry summits and conferences, and you know, I would talk about it, and I would get all these strange looks, like, what, you know, why is she talking about this? But I just kept talking. I just kept
Right.
talking, kept talking. And now some of the same organizations, you know, they're rallying around me, you know, to hear more about it, and saying, what can we do to help? So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough topic, but it's a necessary topic, you know.
Yeah.
And as I said in the beginning, I take it personal, because here it is. I had this amazing husband. You know, a lot of women envied our relationship, and then all of a sudden, you know, he was overtaken by that prison journey that he had.
Yeah. So what words of encouragement do you have for family members and
Family
loved
members,
ones?
you know what, family members, get involved. Get involved. Educate yourself. Like I said in the private group, you know, I have information that they can download and print out and send to their loved ones, so that their loved ones won't be left behind, you know. And so I said, get involved, educate yourself. That is so important, because if you educate yourself, become familiar with the signs and symptoms, when you see the struggle, you can recognize the struggle, and you can talk to them and say, hey, I see you struggling. What can I do to help? It's going to take a lot of patience, a whole lot of patience and more patience and more patience. Like one lady told me, her loved one, he went in at 17, he came out at 40. And she was like, it's like I have another child. It's like I have another child. So, and there's also what's called arrested development. Arrested development is the psychological aspect of it is, you know, their psychological development, it's incomplete. You know, the majority of them who are in prison has suffered some type of trauma. And research has shown that whatever age it is that they suffered that trauma, their psychological development stopped. It's incomplete. So he went in at 17, he came out at 40, but he still had some of the behaviors and the mindset of the 17-year-old. So that's what she was seeing, you know, when she was saying, man, it's like I have a child here. So it's so much to consider, but I guarantee you, if the family members will get involved, educate themselves, then it will ease some of the bumps and the bruises that may come along with you know, supporting someone who has been incarcerated.
Mhm. So, and then there's going to be the whole issue with finding therapists who are actually educated on this,
Absolutely.
which
You know what? Yes,
I've been
yes.
speaking out about a lot because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah. And
think that
that
there was any
that
class
is so
on this.
yeah, because when my husband first, when he finally decided, to seek a treatment, he went to one therapist, and I remember him coming home the first day, and I said, how did it go? And he just kind of shook his head like, I don't know. He said, I'm gonna give it one more try. And so he went back the following week, and he said, no, I think I'm gonna have to find somebody else, because what I'm finding is a lot of them are not seasoned in this topic, in this type of treatment.
Right.
A lot of them are not seasoned. And so what I suggest is find someone who is very, very heavy trauma,
Mhm.
have a lot of knowledge in trauma, and also the PTSD. And
Right.
because then my husband went to see another one, and she cracked the code. She cracked the code. I would see him when he came in, and I could tell that he had had an emotional session. So yeah,
Yeah. Yep. The
yeah.
trauma work is definite key.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I am advocating on getting more information out there to therapists on this
Mhm.
topic because I think that's
Yeah.
extremely important.
Yeah, it's very, very important. It's very important. And if this is because, and I'm looking for the right type of therapist, because if these guys, like I had one guy, he said, "No, I don't know, Ms. Bruno, I don't know about her." If they go to one and she's not able to reach him,
Mm,
then chances are he's going to stop, because he's going to
Very,
feel
yeah,
like,
yeah,
all of them are going to be saying the same thing.
right.
They're going to do the same thing or whatever. So, yeah, I highly recommend anybody who wants to, serve that population, educate yourself.
Right.
Educate yourself. I have a team of formerly incarcerated men
Mhm.
who provide me with some insight, and they wouldn't have a problem with providing a therapist with some insight, so that
Right.
that therapist can be able to help someone who has walked in, the same situation that they had.
Mhm. Yep. So tell us about your book.
Okay, amazing. So the book,
Yeah.
again, the book was birthed from pain. And I didn't mention this, is that when Kevin and I were struggling and separating, and I'm just sorely depressed. He's sorely depressed. I looked for support groups for me. I needed some type of support, and I looked online and Google and all of that, and I didn't see any support groups that was providing support for after a loved one had been released from prison. So I said, okay, well, let me go to Facebook. And I went to Facebook and I keyed in the search bar, prison wives. And there was a whole slew of groups. I had no idea that it existed. And so I decided, okay, well, let me just, join some groups. So I joined 26 groups, and I sit and I calculated the number of members, and it was a total of over 26,000 people. And
Wow.
so I wouldn't comment or anything. I'll just go in every day and just see what they were talking about. But nobody was talking about after prison. And so my husband and I talked to him about it, and we agreed that we needed to be transparent, and we need to share our story, and let them know all of those unrealistic expectations that they have. And
Mhm.
so that's what we did. I went into the Facebook group and I just posted, have you heard of post incarceration syndrome? And everything came back, no, 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 no. And so, yeah. And so that's when Kevin and I decided we were going to be transparent. And so once we did start sharing our story, then the cries started coming, oh my God, he's coming home and I'm afraid, or, oh my God, had I known this 10 years ago, maybe me and my husband would still be together. And one of the most heartbreaking ones was, had I known this, my husband would still be alive, because 3 days after he got out of prison, he committed suicide. And so everyone was asking, what happened in 72 hours that made him commit suicide? But I knew it wasn't the 72 hours. What happened in prison that he couldn't live with? Was he raped? Did he see somebody get killed? Was he part of that? And so that's a part of the education piece too. We have to understand the trauma, the pre-incarceration trauma. You know, was he abandoned as a child? You know, was he abused? Was he neglected? That pre-incarceration trauma. Then he goes to prison. That's traumatic in itself. Then he's released post. That's traumatic in itself. And then you have all of these trauma experiences, and they've never been dealt with. And you know, our thoughts can drive us crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what the book is about. I decided, you know, after I found out that, you know, I was not the only one. Of course, I knew I wasn't the only one, but there's thousands of Sheilas out there, and there's thousands of Kevins out there. And I needed to get this information out. And also, you know, the women in the group, they were getting all of the information. You know, I was posting and videos and videos. And then I said, God, I need to get this on the inside to the guys. So I made a commitment to donate 1,000, not 1,000. I made it, yeah, it was 1,000. But I made it a commitment to donate a copy of my book to every prison in every state in the United States. And so far, I've completed 8 states. And I started getting letters from guys on the inside saying, thank you for writing your book. I now understand what's wrong with me. Or they are saying, thank you for writing your book. I'm going to have my wife to read this because she needs to understand this is my 3rd time in prison. So the book was to raise awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Raise awareness. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Is it in Connecticut yet?
You know, I need to look and see. And this is the thing I'm working on now too, because this is a project that's coming out of my pocket, right?
Yeah.
So before COVID, I was just sending them out. But I'm working now, because what I want to do is, because like I said, I'm only putting one book in the library, right? I'm working to put more books in prison. You know, one chaplain hit me up out of Mississippi and said, hey, can we get 12? He wanted 12, and I have 4 units, and I want to put at least 3 in each of the units. So that's my goal, because it is raising awareness to the guys on the inside. It's being passed around. It's been, one guy has taken it and using it as a group study. So they're doing a study group around the book.
Yeah, because they actually have their own groups.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's like, all this money, where is it going?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Their own groups.
Yeah, they're having their own groups.
Yeah.
Because and the thing that their guys are saying to me is, inside, he said, there's no real reentry courses here.
Right.
They give us courses that are so not won't benefit us.
Right.
There's no real, so what they do is they create their own reentry courses.
Right.
On the inside. Yeah. Yeah. And here in Texas, you know, I have a nephew who is incarcerated, and he wants to go to school. But here in Texas, you can go to school. You can't go to school until your last 2 years. So if you got a 20-year sentence, you got 18 years to do nothing. And then the last 2 years, they'll allow you, the last 2 years, they'll allow you to go to school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey. Yeah, it's a journey. So we just need more soldiers on board.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, maybe there's some way to get you some help with getting the books out.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely working on that because it slowed me down, and I haven't sent out any in a few months. And I was like, no, I gotta get busy and get some more books out into the prisons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where can we get a copy of the book?
You can get a copy. It's on Amazon, and it's also on my website, wifeafterprison.com. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
I'll
wife.
post that below. I'll post it below in the description
Okay,
for
good.
everybody, and
Okay,
maybe I'll put a picture of it at the end too.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, so it's really nice to meet you. I'm so excited.
You as well. And again, thank you for allowing me to share on your platform to give voice to the voiceless, for the voiceless, and give voice to the psychological impact of incarceration. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. It's important to me too. So
Good,
yeah.
good. And anything that I can do, don't hesitate to reach out. Any
Yeah,
questions
we
that
can
I have?
definitely, hopefully we'll work together in the future with this.
Yeah,
Counseling
sounds good.
Inmates and Their Loved Ones is a program that I created. It is certified by the NBCC, and it is for counselors to get more information about this topic. It can also be very resourceful for family members. So I'm going to post the information below in case if anybody's interested, please reach out to me.
You know you kinda make me nervous of all the things I do to you. If you could look inside my heart, oh then you'd be nervous too. There's so many things to say before I turn and walk away. If you don't see me